morning. Welcome to another episode of Use Your Power. Use Your Power is brought to you bi-weekly by RevUp. RevUp stands for Register, Educate, and Vote. Use Your Power. We are a collaboration of nonpartisan organizations that want to increase the power of the disability vote. I am your host, Julie Espinoza. I'm the Assistant Director at Reach of Plano, a center for independent living that wants to increase people with disabilities independence in the community. And I'm self-describing myself as a white female with brown hair, a lot of gray on top, and I'm wearing a black sundress before it gets cold. And today we are going to welcome Bruce Elfant, who is with the Travis County Tax Assessor-Collector Office. He is the voter registrar. Welcome, Bruce.
Thank you. It's good to be with you. Well, I would love to say that I look like, every football player, but I don't. I'm middle-aged, overweight, about 5'8". I have a graying beard, and I think that is pretty much it. I will describe my dog, who you might hear in this video. Astro is a 70-pound lab with a loud voice at times.
I have a couple of questions that I thought folks might be interested in knowing about. Great opportunities. First of all, what exactly does your office do?
Well, it's interesting. The tax office collected duties over the years. We obviously register voters, and I'll talk about that at length. We collect property taxes for all the jurisdictions in Travis County, and each county tax assessor does the same thing. So we're delegated to collect property taxes, and we also handle motor vehicle registration and title duties. And it's interesting how all those things came together, but they did.
Can you tell me a little bit about the volunteer deputy registrar process? What is that? And
Sure. In Travis County, we have one. Every county has, by statute, is required to allow volunteer deputy registrars to sign up and register voters in the county. In Travis County, we have, I think, 1,600 volunteer deputy registrars. And here, we consider our VDRs our civic engagement army, because it's important to register voters, but it's also important to connect the dots to make it easier for people to understand how the voting process works. So we want them to know when the elections are, when early voting starts, how voter ID works, how vote by mail works, where are the polling places, what are the times. And so our VDRs are armed with all that information to share with people as they're registering voters, or with other people as they're wandering through the community. So it's we don't want any of these to be barriers for people voting. I don't know how to vote by mail, so I'm not going to.
Mm-hmm. So is there a training for new VDRs in every county?
Yes, every county is required to have at least one training a month. And obviously COVID has thrown a wrench into a lot of this. In Travis County, we have moved to an online platform for training. We train through Zoom, and we train every month and multiple times a month. And anybody who's interested in anybody statewide can take the Travis County training and then take it to their election administrator or voter registrar to prove that they've taken the training and then be signed up as a VDR in their county. So if you're interested in taking our Zoom class, you go to traviscountystx.gov and go to voters, and you can see the calendar of all the Zoom trainings.
Can you tell me what the typical experience might be like for a volunteer deputy registrar?
Oh, yeah. We've had so many VDRs come to us with stories about registering 18-year-olds for the first time, registering people who have been naturalized as citizens that have been waiting for years to become American citizens and to be able to register and participate in our elections, registering people who have gotten out of prison and are off paper and they're getting their rights back to register and vote. So many heartwarming stories where people are so excited about getting to register as citizens and participate in our elections. It's kind of contrasted with the fact that Texas is 48th in the nation in registration and turnout. Mm-hmm. We hope that more people will feel that passion about wanting to be involved in their democracy.
So sounds like it's a great experience. How long does the average person volunteer to do that? Do you know?
Oh, we have VDRs who have been doing it for, 10 years or more. So many of our volunteer deputies return. The trainings are every 2 years. Probably half or more of our VDRs are returning. They enjoy it. They enjoy being out in the community, registering voters. They enjoy registering voters on the deadline where we're out in the community from 8 in the morning till midnight. And I should mention that in 2018, our volunteer deputy registrars were at dozens of locations in Travis County, and they registered 40,000 people that day.
Wow. Wow.
Very proud of that.
How many VDRs do you have in Travis County alone?
Right now, we have probably 1,600, but we expect that when we get into the primary and general election, we will have several thousand.
Question. You're talking about all the thousands of volunteer deputy registrars that we have. And I'm curious, why do we have volunteers doing this?
Well, Texas, unlike most states, it's harder to register to vote here. Most states allow their citizens to register to vote online, so they don't really need VDRs. A lot of states allow same-day registration or automatic registration. When you get your driver's license, you're automatically registered. All these states have higher registration and turnouts in Texas, and so we know that it is harder to register to vote. So in Texas, the VDRs are our way to try to make up for that. And yeah, you can go to a post office or a library and get a voter registration card, but you have to know about it and be thinking about it. Our volunteer registrars are out in the community. I don't want to say in your face, but they're out there asking, are you registered? Are you registered at your current address? Let me talk to you about why it's important to register. And, post office or library can't do that. And so our VDRs are tools to try to do outreach where other states are making it easier.
Well, can I ask you a question then? Can I ask you, why does Texas not have it when other states do?
You would have to ask the Texas legislature, and we've been down there a number of sessions, and we've explained to them that online voter registration is secure. The DPS, the Secretary of State, and the Director of Information Services for the state have all acknowledged that it is secure. It's certainly more accessible for people. They don't have to go find a card and fill it out and mail it in. They can just do it online from the comfort of their homes. And so I don't know why we don't have online registration. I would tell you that in this day and age, no business would operate like this. They would go back to paper forms for their businesses. In 2018, we registered 40,000 people in a single day, and we're very proud of that. And at midnight, I was going, oh my God, this is incredible. And my staff was going, oh my God, this is horrible, because we had 40,000 pieces of paper that we had to decipher. Hopefully we could read your handwriting. Type it in properly, trying to beat the deadline for early voting. That's no way to operate a voter registration system in this day and age, and no business would do that. And I'm really begging the Texas legislature to bring us into the current century and allow us to use the tools that other states are using very successfully and that other businesses are using.
So you've asked that question, you haven't really received an answer. What's your hunch? Why is Texas so different?
My hunch is that the leadership in the legislature fears that online voter registration might not work in their favor, and it might register people more from the other party. And what I told them, and what I will continue telling them, is that online registration is not partisan, and the Pew Research Center has done studies that showed that there's no partisan edge to online registration. Arizona was the first in the country to adopt online registration. And back then they were a very red state, and they're still mostly red. And 80% of Arizonans register to vote online. Can you imagine how much money that saves them and how much more accurate their voter rolls are, because they're not having to read people's handwriting? Every state around Texas has adopted online registration. I would tell you that Oklahoma has adopted online registration. And I know Texans don't ever want to be behind Oklahoma in any capacity. After COVID, anywhere you go where there's two or three people around, there'd probably be a VDR there.
Mhm. So how does someone find out what they need to do locally where they live to get to get more information like this? Where would they go to?
Well, I would suggest that they contact their local voter registrar or elections administrator. In each county, it's a little bit different. In Travis County, the tax office handles the registration and the clerk handles the elections. In a lot of counties, they have an appointed election administrator that does both duties. So they need to see, go look up elections or voter registrar in their county and touch base with them.
Now, is there anything else you would like to add about this opportunity for people to get involved and participate?
Well, registering to vote is the first step in participating in our elections. And there's so many people who don't really understand how to register to vote. And there's others who need a little bit of help convincing them why it's important to register and participate in our elections. And that's a very exciting volunteer duty for our volunteer deputy registrars to help engage people in our democracy. We're going to have elections here in November, and typically the voter turnout is single digits or teens. And so we're going to delegate the decisions in this election to the majority of maybe 12% of the voters. So 80-something% sitting on the sidelines, not helping make these decisions. And that's not how democracy is supposed to work. So we want to be out there engaging people and telling them why all these elections are important. And the ones at the bottom of the ballot are really more important because they have more impact on our daily lives.
So Bruce, I would like to know, we recently in Texas had Senate Bill 1 pass and become law. Is there anything in that is going to have an impact on voter registration that we need to know about?
Well, the vast majority of impacts are on the election side in Senate Bill 1. There are a couple of things in Senate Bill 1 that I guess the big thing for election administrators is that they created criminal penalties if we don't do certain things fast enough. And in Travis County, we don't see that as an issue. We're pretty automated, but in other counties, that might be an issue. And I have some concerns for election administrators in other counties. There was one issue that spoke to registering to vote at private mailboxes. And they made it clear that you cannot do that. In our volunteer deputy registrar training, we've made it clear that you have to have a physical voting address. You have to register to vote from your residence to be able to register. You can't register at a public PO box or a private PO box. And so that in Travis County, that's not a big issue, but we do want to make people aware of it.
Mm-hmm. It could be in some other places. Yes. Thank you so much for that information. And I would like everyone to like this show, subscribe to this show, and see all of the YouTube videos we have on increasing the power of the disability vote. Several people have asked, how can they donate? You can do that by going to the Rev Up Texas website, and we have a donation link there. So thank you for your support, and thank you for using your power.
It's been so nice to see you, and I wish your friend great luck.